So, Money in the Bank is over, which means it is now time for the Money in the Bank results / highlights and review video. So as always, I'll be going over the entire show results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and then give you guys my thoughts and my review on it all. So, for the kickoff, since Jerry Lawler is suspended for beating up his girlfriend, or his girlfriend beating him up, I'm not sure. Anyways, they went ahead and replaced him with Lita, and as far as the matches on the kickoff show, so first off, we had the Golden Truth versus Fandango and Tyler Breeze. Apparently, the match was set up due to a tanning booth incident where I didn't even know there was a tanning booth where you could actually fit in two people at the same time to get a tan. But anyways, Fandango and Tyler Breeze go in one, and then Goldust and R-Truth decide to mess with it. I guess they put it at the highest setting, and then Tyler Breeze, Fandango end up getting burnt. They have, their skins tearing off and all that. They're all red, so they come out to the match like that, and throughout the match, like, they're selling the pain from, the tan, and at the end, Goldust goes ahead and hits the final cut for the win, and Golden Truth finally get their first win as a tag team. So anyways, after that, we get the Dudley Boys versus the Lucha Dragons. There were a lot of tag team matches on this card. So anyways, we get the Doomsday Device. Always like to see that from the Dudley Boys on Kalisto. And at some point, see, I was talking about this in my prediction. At some point, Devon accidentally clotheslines Bubba. I can't be the only one that's noticed the Dudley Boys accidentally hitting each other a lot lately. And usually that leads to somebody, one of the two, snapping and the team breaking up. So I'm calling it right now. The Dudley Boys will be splitting up soon. So, the end of the match comes when Kalisto goes ahead and pretty much dodges the 3D or holds on to the ropes. And he sends Devon to the outside, and then he hits the Salida del Sol on Bubba, followed by the Swanton Bomb from Sin Cara, which I just found out today is actually called the Dragon Bomb. So I guess they replaced that because Swanton is for Jeff Hardy. And the Lucha Dragons win the match. Afterwards, we get the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Championship match. Now, this was on the main card, and this match was a good match, but at the same time, there was so many, botches in the match. I think it might just have to do with all the chaos in the match. I mean, it's a Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, so 4 times 2, that's 8 players, and not 8 players, 8 superstars, 8 wrestlers in the same match, so that can make for a chaotic situation. But anyways, let's get on with some of the highlights of the match. So the tag team match started to really pick up when Cass got the hot tag, went ahead, took out everybody, hit the Empire Elbow on Carl Anderson, and then he hit the big boot on Aiden to take him off the apron, and then he grabbed Enzo, launched him on everybody else on the outside, and then Enzo got back in the ring on the top for a splash, which, once again, Cass launched him onto Carl Anderson, this time, of course, in the ring, and then this is the first botch of the match, at least that I recall. So anyways, ref goes for the count, and then, before he can even get the 1 count, so his arm is going towards the mat for that 1 count, and then for some reason he decides to pull back and restart his hand motion, restart the 1 count. I'm not sure why. Maybe because he thought that Luke Gallows wasn't going to have enough time to get up and break the pin. So, it actually seemed, I had to go ahead and replay it, but live, it actually seemed like he had made the 3 count, but since they weren't supposed to win the match, they didn't ring the bell or anything like that. But he didn't actually make the 3 count, he just, for some reason, decided to pull back on that 1 count and restarted before he even counting it. So anyways, at the 2 count or 3 count, whatever, Luke Gallows goes ahead and interrupts the count. He goes ahead and pulls him off Carl Anderson, and then after that, Kofi, this is the other botch, Kofi goes ahead and goes for a Trouble in Paradise on Enzo, but before he could even hit it or really start going for the move, Enzo just falls down. So Kofi's like, alright, forget that. I don't even know why Enzo just fell down. He didn't get kicked or anything. And then the Vaudevillains hit their finishers on Kofi. I believe it's called the Whirly Dermish or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure what it's called. That's what I heard from Michael Cole on commentary when they hit it. So they hit it on Kofi, but then Anderson breaks the pin, and then Big E hits the apron spear on Gotch. Big E has some cool moves, man. And then Big E tries to go for the big ending into the DDT from Kofi, But Carl Anderson goes ahead and tags himself in, and they take the New Day out the ring, and then the club hit the Magic Killer on Aiden English, and they go for the cover, but then Big E goes ahead and picks up Carl Anderson off of Aiden to break the pin, and Kofi hits the DDT, the big ending into the DDT, and then Kofi goes for the cover on Aiden English. 1, 2, 3, and the New Day retain the tag team titles. I knew it. I knew the New Day were not only going to retain the tag team titles, but they were going to retain it by pinning the Vaudevillains. So that way they end the feud with them, and now they might move on to a feud with the club. So after that, we got the feud, or worst feud of the year, Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler. Yeah. So anyways, Corbin versus Dolph. I'll just go over some of the moments here, the big moments. So on the outside, this also featured a botch here. Dolph, on the outside, he was running towards the steps, and he was going to jump on Corbin from the steps, but he stumbled, but Corbin managed to save it and grab Dolph and hit him with the deep six. So that was a good save there. And afterwards, back in the ring, Dolph goes for the jumping DDT, but Corbin pushes him off, and then he tries for End of Days, but Ziggler backflips out of it. I thought that was cool. And then Ziggler hits a super kick, goes for the cover, Baron Corbin kicks out, Ziggler's on the top rope, Baron Corbin takes him off, hits the End of Days, 1, 2, 3, and that's the match. And then Byron Saxton on commentary says, maybe this is the end of the feud, and I'm like, yes, please, end this. Yo, I hope they don't have another match on Raw. I hope they forget this for a very long time. If for some reason the feud continues, hopefully the matches are only on main event, because I don't watch that show anyways, so that'd be fine with me. Anyways, moving on, we get the Divas tag team match. I'll just go over the finish of the match. So, for the finish, Natalya has the sharpshooter locked in on Charlotte, and then Dana Brooke grabs Natalya off of her, and then she grabs Becky Lynch's head and throws her against Natty's head. And afterwards, Charlotte capitalizes with the natural selection, goes for the cover, and wins the match. It's been a while since I saw Charlotte actually winning a match with natural selection. Usually they kick out, usually she gets the win with the figure eight. So after the match, Natalya's crying, and Becky's like, you know, it's okay, and then afterwards, you could see it coming. Afterwards, Becky, because usually when somebody's about to turn heel or attack somebody else from behind, that person, like, leaves the ring and doesn't look back, and they leave the ring first. The other person is, like, behind, so that's what happened here. Becky was going to leave the ring, and then Natalya was still behind, so she goes ahead and attacks her, punches her a couple times, and then she leaves the ring and continues on crying. Afterwards, we get Sheamus versus Apollo Crews. Now, one moment I really liked here is after Crews belly-to-belly suplexed Sheamus to the outside of the ring, he actually had a springboard moonsault on Sheamus, who was down on the floor. Now, why did I like this? Simply because it's not something we usually see. We see a lot of springboard moonsaults, don't get me wrong, we see a lot of moonsaults to the outside too. Actually, not that much, but we see them. But I don't remember the last time somebody actually hit a moonsault to the outside on an opponent who was down on the floor. Not the announce table, not standing up, but actually down. Most of the time, it's always when the person is up. So afterwards, we get Sheamus hitting white noise from the second rope, goes for the cover, and Crews actually kicks out. And then Sheamus is like complaining to the referee while he's got his back turned to Crews, so Crews goes ahead and turns it into a pin/backslide and gets the 3 count and beats Sheamus. So that's cool. Apollo Crews won this match. I actually thought Sheamus was going to win, but I'm glad that Apollo won the match. And then we got AJ Styles versus John Cena. Now, AJ got the better of John Cena in this match for pretty much most of the match. Most of the match was dominated by AJ, and whenever Cena would somehow get some offense in, at some point AJ just counters it out of nowhere with either an enziguri or something. And in the beginning, before the match even started, the crowd was heavily behind AJ. They were chanting for AJ. There was some slight John Cena chants, let's go Cena, but the AJ chants were just drowning out the Cena chants by a lot. So, like I said, AJ dominating most of the match. Cena started to go for the shoulder tackles. He hits one, goes for the second one, but AJ stopped it with a drop kick. And then Cena tried again for the shoulder tackles a bit later in the match. He hit 2 shoulder tackles, and then he goes for the spin out back suplex, but AJ spins out of it and hits him with an enziguri. And then AJ charged Cena in the corner, Cena ducked, and then he actually hit the spinning back suplex. And then he goes for the 5-knuckle shuffle, but AJ Styles counters it into the Hurricane Rana, sending him to the outside of the ring. And then AJ went ahead and jumped to the outside on Cena. He got back in the ring. He went for another jump, this time a corkscrew crossbody, but John Cena got out the way, so AJ Styles just fell on the floor. And then back in the ring, Cena went for the attitude adjustment, and AJ elbowed his way out of it. He went for his strike combinations with the back elbows and all of that, and then he hit a jumping clothesline in the corner, and then John Cena out of nowhere gets him in the STF, but AJ Styles got to the ropes. And then Cena went ahead and went for the attitude adjustment once again, except this time from the top, and AJ just elbowed him off the top. And AJ went for a springboard move, but John Cena caught him in the attitude adjustment, but AJ once again reversed it, this time into the calf crusher, but eventually Cena gets to the ropes. So, like a few moments afterwards, Cena goes ahead, he hits a really nice clothesline on AJ that makes him backflip. AJ sold that into a backflip. I like that sell. And Cena goes ahead and hits the 5-knuckle shuffle, but he doesn't actually run the ropes while doing it, so he's still selling him being hurt from the calf crusher. And the commentators also pointed that out. So then Cena afterwards managed to pull out the attitude adjustment, he hit it, and Styles actually kicked out. So then Cena goes for the leg drop from the top, and AJ Styles counters it into a powerbomb, kind of like when Batista did it to John Cena at SummerSlam a couple years back. And then AJ went for the Pele kick and followed that up with the Styles Clash, but John Cena kicked out. And then AJ Styles went for the Springboard 450, and John Cena got his knees up, and then he went for the attitude adjustment. AJ Styles gets out of it, he attempts the Styles Clash, but John Cena gets out of that and tries for the attitude adjustment, and then AJ gets out of that and tries for the Pele kick. That gets dodged as well, and then AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm, and then Cena catches him into the attitude adjustment, but like AJ's moving around and Cena's trying to get a hold of him and stay still, so in the process he knocks down the referee accidentally, and then he hits the attitude adjustment, but of course the referee is out, and so then the club comes out, they hit the magic killer on John Cena and put AJ on Cena. And then the referee finally gets up, 1, 2, 3, and AJ Styles beat John Cena. So AJ beat Cena, which I'm happy about, but for those of you who wanted to see a clean win, obviously this wasn't clean. Afterwards, we got the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'll go over a bunch of the highlights here. So, in the beginning of the match, we saw Cesaro hitting a flipping senton from the apron on Jericho, who was holding a ladder, so he fell on the ladder, and the ladder fell on Jericho. And then also, right after, Sami Zayn hit a flipping senton on his own, but from the inside of the ring to the outside on everybody. And then, back in the ring, Sami Zayn hit the haluva kick on Dean Ambrose, and then he hit the haluva kick also on Kevin Owens and Jericho, who were in the same corner. And then, Del Rio went ahead and came inside the ring, and he started beating everybody up. He super kicked Sami Zayn, he put Sami Zayn upside down, and then he grabbed the ladder, which he also used to hit Dean Ambrose, and he was putting it in a position where he wanted to do stomp on Sami Zayn onto the ladder, but eventually what happened is Sami Zayn got out of that corner because Del Rio was busy beating everybody else up, and instead Del Rio went ahead and beat up Cesaro, and he put him upside down and hit the stomp on Cesaro on the ladder. And after that, Del Rio started climbing up, and then Cesaro also climbed up the ladder, but Del Rio went ahead and put him in the armbar on top of the ladder until Kevin Owens went ahead and super kicked Del Rio, who was hanging upside down while putting in the armbar. So then Del Rio falls off the ladder, and then Cesaro goes ahead and jumps off the ladder into the ropes for a springboard corkscrew uppercut. That was freaking awesome. And then right after, Dean Ambrose hits Cesaro with Dirty Deeds, and then Jericho hits the code breaker on Ambrose. Jericho then starts climbing up. Sami Zayn also climbs up. They fight it out until Kevin Owens pushes both of them off the ladder, and then Owens starts climbing up, but Del Rio goes ahead and stops him with the backstabber, and then Cesaro starts swinging Del Rio, and then Jericho comes in the ring. He goes ahead and goes for the code breaker, so Cesaro stops him, holds on to him, and goes ahead and swings Y2J into a ladder in the corner. And then Dean Ambrose hit an elbow drop from the top of the ladder on Cesaro, and Kevin Owens hit Dean Ambrose with a ladder to the back, and then he puts him on that ladder, and he goes ahead and hits a frog splash from the top on Dean Ambrose, who's on that ladder. And then shortly after, Sammy comes in and hits a Michinoku driver on Kevin Owens on the ladder that's placed on its side. So it's not a ladder that's flat, it's actually on its side, so that looked pretty painful. And then Sammy starts climbing up. Del Rio goes ahead and stops him by hitting him in the back like 10 times with another ladder. And then he goes ahead and places that ladder between the ropes and the ladder like we've seen so many times in the past. And then at some point afterwards, Cesaro also goes ahead and places another ladder in between the ropes and the ladder, so now both sides of the ladder have two ladders connected to them, or in between the steps, and now everybody's fighting it out on top of these ladders. And I was thinking, okay, somebody's gonna go through one of these ladders, but actually nobody went through the ladders. What ends up happening instead is they all end up taking each other off those ladders, and then Kevin Owens, well, actually before Kevin Owens does that, Dean Ambrose goes ahead and hits Dirty Deeds on Jericho, who was hanging off one of those ladders, and Kevin Owens, he goes ahead and hits a powerbomb on Sami Zayn on one of these ladders. So then it's down to Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. They're the two only guys, the only two guys that are up, so they both climb one side of the ladder, but Dean Ambrose goes ahead and grabs Kevin Owens by the shirt, and he pulls him towards the ladder a couple of times, and eventually Kevin Owens just falls on the ladder that's in between the ropes and in between the steps. That ladder just falls down, and Dean Ambrose goes ahead, climbs up, and grabs the briefcase, and is the new Mr. Money in the Bank. So afterwards, we got Titus O'Neil versus Rusev, and I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be main event time. I actually forgot about this match, but actually ended up being a nice match. I enjoyed it. It was short, but I liked it. I liked it for the time that it got. And so at ringside, or not at ringside, but in the crowd was Titus O'Neil's, sons. And so once the bell rings, Rusev goes ahead. He gets out of the ring, he goes towards his sons, and he's like, is this your father? And, he was either saying this, is this your father, or is that your sons, to Titus O'Neil? Anyways, Titus gets out the ring the other way, and then you could see him charging or running towards Rusev, so Rusev runs towards Titus, and then they both take each other out with double clotheslines, and you could hear the impact. That was pretty cool. Later on in the match, towards the end, you get Rusev trying to go for the accolade, but Titus O'Neil powers out of it, counters into a power slam, and a bit afterwards, him and Rusev fight it out on the outside once again, and he throws Rusev into the steps, onto the apron. He sends him back in the ring, and then he follows Rusev back in the ring, but back in the ring, Rusev goes ahead, hits him with a roundhouse kick, and then he follows it up with the super kick and the accolade, and Titus taps out. I'm actually glad he tapped out, didn't pass out, because I felt like they were doing it too much, even though it's been a while since somebody passed out to the accolade in a match, because Rusev, wasn't winning too much, apart from recently when he won the US title, but yeah, so Titus O'Neil taps out, and the funny part is, after the match, Rusev goes ahead to Titus O'Neil's son, and he says, yo, so you see your dad over there? He's a loser. And then he's like, Happy Father's Day, and then he raises up the championship, and the kid actually slapped Rusev's chest. Rusev no-sold it, and that was it, man. Rusev is the man. So after that, we got Roman versus Seth Rollins. The match was really slow in the beginning, and the match started at like 10:50ish p.m. or something like that. And so I was like, alright, this is probably going to end in this disqualification pretty quick or something like that. Unless this pay-per-view was like a network exclusive, because usually pay-per-views would always end like 10 minutes before the actual time it was supposed to end. But now lately, a lot of these pay-per-views, or not a lot, but some of the pay-per-views lately have been actually lasting longer than they're supposed to. So I'm wondering if they're also on pay-per-view, and if it was the case, also on pay-per-view. I'm sure if it was on pay-per-view, then you probably saw the same thing that the people saw on the network. Anyways, I was just wondering because, like, are they allowed to do that on pay-per-view? I mean, I'm guessing if they pay, they could go ahead and, get that extra allocated time or whatever. So, Roman Reigns dominated most of the match, and at some point I was like, alright, this is definitely going to go over the, the usual time for a pay-per-view, and it started off slow. It was really slow, and it eventually started picking up. Once it started picking up, that's when it got interesting. And so in the beginning you had, or not in the beginning, but towards the middle, you had Reigns hitting a sit-out Razor's Edge into a pin on Rollins. I like that move. Rollins kicks out, and of course, right after Roman Reigns does that, the crowd, although this time there wasn't a large portion of the crowd chanting it, you could hear some of the crowd saying, you still suck. You still suck. Not stuck. Anyways, afterwards, we got Reigns going for a Superman punch, but Seth Rollins went ahead and countered that by sending him face first into the second turnbuckle. And then Reigns goes ahead and pulls Seth Rollins up from the ropes. You know that thing Seth Rollins does all the time where he's hanging onto the ropes and then the guy pulls him up by his legs, and then Seth Rollins kind of kips up into a enziguri. That's basically what he did here. And then Reigns on the outside got hit by a suicide dive from Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins got right back in the ring, and this time followed it up with a flipping senton. And then a bit later, Reigns dodged a springboard knee, and then he tried to go for the Superman punch, but Seth Rollins stopped it by kicking him in the gut. He tries to go for the pedigree, but Reigns goes ahead, backdrops him, but Seth Rollins backflips and lands on his feet, and then Roman goes ahead and hits him with the Superman punch. And then he goes for the spear, but Seth Rollins stops him with a knee to the face, and then Seth Rollins hits him with a springboard knee to the face, and he follows that up with a frog splash, but Roman Reigns kicks out. And then Rollins goes up top once again, but Reigns stops him with an uppercut, and then they fight it out on top. And then you could see Seth Rollins, he was about to go for that sunset flip powerbomb from the top that injured him, and he was hesitating, but Roman Reigns, because of that hesitation, was able to get him in like a Samoan drop position, but then Seth Rollins slipped out of it, and he went ahead, grabbed him in the powerbomb position, and he hit the buckle bomb in the turnbuckle, or on the turnbuckle, and he followed that up with a super kick, and Reigns kicked out. And then after, we saw Seth Rollins hitting the superplex into the Falcon Arrow, but Roman Reigns kicked out, and then he tried for the pedigree once again, but Roman Reigns got out of it, and then he hits an uppercut, and Roman Reigns goes ahead and dodges a kick from Seth, and he hits the one-arm sit-down powerbomb for 2.5. And then Roman goes for the Superman punch, and that gets stopped with another kick to the gut from Seth Rollins and another turnbuckle bomb on Roman, but this time Roman Reigns just bounces off of it and hits another Superman punch, but Seth kicks out once again. And then Seth rolls out the ring. He goes towards that corner where the barricade is breakable, so you know Roman Reigns is going to go for the spear there. And he asks for a chair, and you can see Roman getting out the ring, preparing for the spear. He runs towards Seth, and at this point I'm thinking, alright, so Seth's going to dodge, Roman Reigns is going to spear the barricade's going to break, he's going to go through it. But actually the barricade pretty much doesn't break. It makes a loud noise, but he doesn't go through it. I'm not sure if he was supposed to go through it or not, but anyways, he doesn't go through it, but looks like he hits it pretty damn hard. And then Seth Rollins just looks at Roman, and he's like, oh shit, that's my opportunity right there. So they're checking on Roman Reigns, the medics, and the ref, and then Seth Rollins gets Roman back in the ring. He goes for the pedigree, but Roman Reigns pushes Seth Rollins into the referee, which knocks him down, and then he hits a spear on Seth, and then he goes for the cover, but the referee is down. So he has Seth Rollins down for the count, more than a 3 count, but of course, referee's down. So Roman gets off of him, and then he goes for another spear, but this time the spear gets countered into a pedigree. Now this was a freaking awesome counter, and I would have loved to see the match end there, because the counter was cool. So he goes for the cover after that, and Roman Reigns kicks out. But worry not, Seth Rollins fans, right after, Seth Rollins just picks him back up, bam, second pedigree, goes for the cover, 1, 2, 3, and Seth Rollins actually wins the championship. Seth Rollins beat Roman Reigns kinda clean. I mean, Seth Rollins didn't do anything wrong. I mean, yeah, he was trying to go for a chair, but he never hit Roman Reigns with that chair because Roman Reigns decided to, spear himself into the barricade, and the referee got taken down, but that's because Roman Reigns pushed Seth Rollins onto the referee. And the weird thing is, during this match, like, if you were somebody that didn't watch regular WWE programming, and maybe you tuned in for the first time here and you're watching this match, Roman Reigns looked like the heel. To me, he was acting like the heel in this match, he was working like a heel, and Seth Rollins was working more like a face. He seemed like the face to me here. It was weird. I was like, are they gonna do a double turn or something like that? Didn't do that. I mean, maybe they're gonna do it. And also, Roman Reigns was sporting the full beard, so it wasn't just the goatee this time. And so oftentimes when people turn, from face to heel, they tend to go ahead and grow facial hair if they weren't growing it out earlier, or if they did already have facial hair, they grow it out even more. It's just a thing I noticed. Anyways. After the match, Seth Rollins wins, that gets a pop, and then Dean Ambrose music hits, and the crowd pops for that too, and then Seth Rollins is looking towards the stage, Dean Ambrose isn't coming out, and then we hear Michael Cole, oh my god, and then bam, Dean Ambrose hits him from behind with the briefcase, and then he goes outside the ring, gives the briefcase to the referee, and he says, I'm cashing it in right now. And then he gets in the ring, and they announce it, they start the cash in, ring the bell. Dean Ambrose gets Seth Rollins in Dirty Deeds, hits it, and goes for the cover, and wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So, at Money in the Bank, all 3 members of the Shield were holding the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Of course, Roman Reigns went into it as champion, Seth Rollins won the championship off of Roman, and then Dean Ambrose went ahead and beat Seth Rollins for that title. So that's pretty interesting, that's pretty cool. I did not expect Dean Ambrose actually to cash in right away. I was expecting it maybe to happen a bit later, maybe from now until SummerSlam, but I didn't expect it now, like at Money in the Bank. So, what did I think about the show overall? Honestly, when it comes to the show, I really enjoyed only like 3 matches or 4 matches. The Money in the Bank match, I like that. I like the main event towards the end. The beginning was very slow, and I was getting bored of it. But then it started picking up, and it ended up being good. I liked it, and I liked the surprise finish. Seth Rollins winning, that was really cool. That really bumped it up for me. Also, Dean Ambrose cashing in, finally becoming champion. So the same night, man, he finally wins Money in the Bank, and also he finally wins the championship, and he wins it. He cashes in on the same guy that screwed him over time after time after time. So that was cool. And also Titus versus Rusev, I actually liked that match. What else? Oh yeah, and AJ versus John Cena. I will say though, the weakest part of that match was the ending with the club just coming out, hitting the Magic Killer, and AJ getting the win that way. Would have preferred AJ to get the win actually on his own, or if they were going to do interference, would have preferred it being something more, I guess, creative, where since the club isn't allowed to be in the match, have him bring in somebody else. I don't know, Finn or something like that. Maybe he debuts and helps him out. But at the same time, I have a hard time seeing Finn as a heel on the WWE main roster. So, I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. I mean, it might happen, but anyways. Also, going back to the Money in the Bank ladder match. Although I did enjoy the match, it definitely wasn't one of the better Money in the Bank matches. Like I said, I was expecting, once they started putting all those ladders in between these ladders, I was expecting a big spot. But really, all we got was a powerbomb on the ladder, which didn't break. And also Kevin Owens falling on the ladder, which also didn't break. And also we got Kevin Owens falling on the ladder crotch first, before falling on the ladder when Dean Ambrose shoved him on the ladder and all of that. But yeah, there weren't that many cool or big moments in that match compared to the other Money in the Bank matches that I've seen in the past. So while this was one of the weaker Money in the Bank matches, it also wasn't a bad match at all. Also, I almost forgot about the tag team match. I enjoyed the match. It wasn't a bad match. The New Day typically has good tag team matches, but I've seen better, I feel, from the New Day than this match right here. And it had a couple botches. Also, by the way, going back to the AJ versus Cena match, man, the entire time, I don't know if they had their mics turned all the way up or something like that, but the entire time you could hear and see John Cena talking to AJ clearly, and you could pretty much just hear what John Cena was saying to AJ Styles and know what was going to happen next. You didn't even have to see, like, at some point, early in the match, you hear him telling AJ, alright, go for a single leg takedown. Right away, AJ goes for a single leg takedown. And just, this was, like, Cena's known for, you can see him oftentimes in matches calling spot. You can hear him saying, hey, I don't know, back jump me, or hey, Batista bomb, or hey, this and that. And here you could hear him say, single leg takedown, oh, kick me, and then AJ kicks him. And you could both see him and hear him talking to AJ the entire time. Out of all the matches I've seen with John Cena, this was the one where I saw him talk to his opponent the most, where it was the most obvious. And I don't know why it's so obvious with the John Cena matches. With the other matches, I rarely see that happen. I don't often see the superstars talking to each other, and I just see the moves. I see the matches. This one, though, was on a whole nother level. But anyways, going back to the main event, that to me was the highlight of the show. The whole sequence at the end, Seth Rollins actually winning the championship from Reigns, that was a big surprise itself. Because I thought if Seth was going to win, it was going to be via disqualification, but he wasn't going to win the championship. So for him to win via pinfall and actually win the championship, become a 2-time champion, that was awesome, because I was rooting for Rollins. I thought Reigns was going to win, but I was rooting for Rollins, and so that was cool. And then for Dean Ambrose to go ahead, cash in that same night on Dean Ambrose, getting payback on Seth Rollins. You know, giving Seth Rollins a taste of his own medicine, since Seth Rollins did cash in on Roman Reigns versus Brock. Which, by the way, speaking of that, have you guys noticed how whenever they bring that up, that WrestleMania match, Reigns versus Brock, where Seth Rollins cashed in, they always make it seem like Reigns was about to win that match. If you look at the video package that they showed on the network, or, you know, at Money in the Bank, they showed Roman Reigns hitting the spear, and then Seth Rollins cashing in. When that wasn't the case, Brock was about to win that match. Brock hit the F5, and then Seth Rollins came out and cashed in. But whenever the WWE brings it up or shows it in video packages, they cut out the part where Brock just hit the F5 and Seth Rollins comes out. Instead, it's, hey, Roman Reigns hits a spear, he's about to win, and then Seth Rollins comes out and cashes it in. When that's not what happened. But yeah, also, Dean Ambrose is a champion right now. That's cool. So we got 2 new champions that same night. All 3 members of the Shield now are champions. And what's interesting here, I also posted this up on Twitter. Dean Ambrose now is a 1-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Seth Rollins a 2-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Roman Reigns a 3-time champion. And when you look at that, when you think about that, what's interesting is that's pretty much the way that WWE views these guys, or the way these guys are booked. It reflects that. So the guy with the most reigns, Roman Reigns, is the guy that's booked the strongest out of all 3. So he's got the most reigns. And then you've got Seth Rollins, who is booked better than Dean Ambrose. He's got more wins over Dean Ambrose. He doesn't lose as much as Dean Ambrose. He actually won the championship before Dean Ambrose and the Money in the Bank briefcase. He's got the second most reigns out of the Shield, and then Dean Ambrose is the one who has lost the most and hasn't won the championship until tonight. He's the one with 1 reign. And the Shield consists of 3 members, and you've got 1, 2, 3. Or 1 reign, 2 reigns, 3 reigns. And also, man, this win that Seth Rollins got, now some people might overlook this, but Seth Rollins being Roman Reigns here is a big thing, especially clean. When you think about it, I mean, when you really think about it, this was huge, because Brock Lesnar wasn't able to beat Roman Reigns. I mean, Roman Reigns wasn't able to beat Brock either, but it took, 3 F5s, and Roman Reigns still kicked out, and here, Seth Rollins went ahead and hit 2 pedigrees and got the win. Now, of course, Roman Reigns did spear himself into the barricade, but still, that's a big win, especially after, what's happened, or especially after the way Roman Reigns is being booked now. Like, I know Big Show beat Roman Reigns in the past via pinfall after like a choke slam on Raw, but that was before Roman versus Brock. And as you guys all know, after Roman versus Brock, beating Roman wasn't something you saw often. Actually, the last time I remember Roman Reigns losing a one-on-one match, not via disqualification or anything like that, was against Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt cheated in that match. He had Luke Harper help him out, but that's pretty much it. And Roman Reigns, this is the same guy that kicked out of the Doom, what's it called again? The finisher? Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson's finisher. Not the Magic Killer, the other one. The Doom, Boot of Doom. They hit the Boot of Doom on him. You had AJ Styles hit 2 Styles clashes, one normal one on the chair. And then also in the other match, he hit him with like 3 phenomenal forearms, and he still kicked out. Also the 450 splash and all of that. So that was a huge win for Seth Rollins. And now with Dean Ambrose as a champion, and both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns being the former champions and not getting a rematch yet, the Shield triple threat is bound to happen. The question is, does it take place at Battleground, or does it take place at SummerSlam? I'm thinking it's going to take place at SummerSlam. But anyways, that's pretty much it. As far as my rating for the show, I'd give it a 6.5 to 7 on 10. The bigger matches, the main events, I felt were good matches. And even Rusev versus Titus O'Neil in the tag team matches were good matches. Out of the two, though, I'd prefer maybe the tag team match over Titus O'Neil versus Rusev. But I thought for that short time that they got, it was a nice big man match. It was cool. So that's pretty much it. And also the highlight for me for sure is that whole ending sequence. You know, Seth Rollins winning, Dean Ambrose cashing in, all 3 members of the Shield holding the belt at Money in the Bank. Not at the same time, but, you know, all 3 were champions during Money in the Bank. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you can click the like button down below. And with that said, I'm out. See ya.